And now it's the Rob from 106.1 Kiss FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting. Let me welcome to the show from State College, Pennsylvania, the one and only Mr. Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jerry.
Last night earlier tonight, you guys heard that the New Day talking about winning the WWE Tag Team Champions via becoming the WWE Tag Team Champions last summer right here in Brooklyn.
I was going to ask you at the end if you were going to make up, so this is something you wanted to start the show with today.
Titus O'Neil's promo from 2 weeks ago, I could transcribe the whole 4 minutes. At one point, he says, like, every time I'm in Brooklyn, people keep coming up to me, answering the same questions. And but he meant to say asking, and he said answering. He botches through that whole promo, but nothing like that first sentence.
So,
nothing like, and
that
you can
first sentence, though, you're right.
And listen at the very end where he gets so excited to be done with the sentence. Like when he's like, about winning the tag team champions via becoming the WWE tag team champions last summer. And then he starts to smile right here. He's like, I'm almost done in Brooklyn. And he was like, and nobody made a sound.
The only way I can compare that smile to anything else is that was an Apollo Crews-like smile. It was the biggest of smiles.
It was the cruisiest.
Very good, Jerry. So it sounds like everyone I've talked to seems to agree. I was right on the money when I said that was the worst promo we've seen.
In years. And if I went back and I cataloged stuff and I looked at archives, I bet it's in the top 5 of all time.
There's probably been 5 worse, but I admit that was pretty bad. All right.
So, who's the guy? Remember when Tugboat crashed through a wall? That wasn't technically an interview, but
that was the Shockmaster. You know what? That was an interview that went wrong. I mean, I don't know if it was the fault of the people who were hosting it, but yeah, that one went south pretty quick.
I'll never call him Shockmaster. I always say that time Tugboat fell through a wall.
And thank you, by the way, was it you who found it and put it on one of our threads?
Yes, I found it. Yeah. I was looking for it because I needed to transcribe it for today.
Well, I actually took a video of something last night that I was worried might come up. There was a great unintentionally funny moment that I'll get to. If in case people missed it, I wouldn't be surprised if people did. I've got it on my phone if we need it.
Perfect.
But we'll get there. We've got a whole lot to talk about. What a Raw last night.
Oh my goodness. There was a moment, and I know we'll work our way to the finale, but I had butterflies, Rob. I had like that feeling, like that big time, I remember watching wrestling in the late 90s and early 2000s, and like the main events felt like main events, and you looked around the ring and everybody was legitimate. Even the Samoan Kane, who I hate, Roman Reigns. I was like, there's an argument to be made for him winning this thing. Everybody's entrance was on point, intense, perfectly done, and then here comes the match. I mean, like that was well done. That was a main event I was chomping at the bit for. It's
pretty rare, and it's very exciting in the rare times that it does happen. And it's very rare on Raw that there will be a new champion tonight. And so it had that allure to it that was very exciting. I agree. The Raw in general, I wouldn't say was a home run, but it was an okay show.
It was good building up to they were giving you so much at the end. You just kind of had to ride it.
Yeah, and so you didn't have any problem waiting through it. It did feel long to me, as it always does. And also, the writing is still good in the sense that all the matches have a purpose. They all have a reason still, and that's good.
Yeah, even the ones that aren't interesting to me, like Darren Young and Titus O'Neil. It's just, and the note I made about that match,
I've got notes.
That whole altercation is that, like, that's supposed to be the easiest feud to make interesting.
Yeah.
The tag team feud, because you have a lot of things going for you. You have the built-in storyline. You have the chemistry of these two knowing how to work with one another really well. So that's the backstage element that
it's so easy. It's so easy.
It's so easy to make the the tag team feud a bitter blood rivalry that everybody cares about. Or, as I call it, bathroom break, time to make my protein shake.
Just throw one of them through a barbershop window. Bada bing, bada boom. You got yourself a feud.
The realest guys in the room.
Yeah. All right. Let's actually start at the top. Let's get things started from the beginning.
Sorry. I couldn't help it.
It's okay.
I was working backwards.
No, don't worry about it. It all sounded fluid. We'll get to that match. I have notes about that match too. Let's talk at the beginning. There was the show started with 4 guys in the ring, all being pretty docile, at least for the most part. I don't know why the opening didn't really work for me. I don't know what they could have done to have made it more interesting. Maybe the excitement was already there and I didn't need these promos, but them all together in the ring, it didn't add anything to me, I guess. What did you think about the opening segment?
It felt like the weirdest AA meeting I've ever seen in my life. Like I didn't like them all sitting there doing the thing because I couldn't in my brain ever picture a time where they'd all just sit there and not go at it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the out of place stuff, and it just feels like it was waiting to boil over. And I don't know, maybe if it was a week before, but I know they're going to get together later that night, and we're all excited for it. I just didn't feel like it was necessary.
It doesn't always have to be Rowdy Piper and Bad News Brown where they can't be in the same room without punching each other.
Right.
But I do like to keep them separated.
Yeah.
At least by a few feet.
You know what?
I mean, they're basically guests on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Yeah. You know what? Just they should have been separated this time. I agree. It should have just been separate. I don't know. It kind of missed for me. I think you're right there.
But what they said was great. Their promos were great. And I thought what Rollins said was really funny when he was like, I'm feeling benevolent. So if anybody wants my time, they can have it.
The biggest note, though, the biggest takeaway from that segment, and we can get more into the match later, to me, obviously the most over person in the ring was Cass.
And it goes to the beginning of segment, and at the end, I think he belongs. It wasn't like one of these things is not like the other. It wasn't like that for me.
I want to...
He belongs. He's still a little young with it, and I think he needed Cass. He needed Enzo to come out with him at the end. He did, and I'm glad Enzo then left, and they did their thing, and then he left. But he's not ready to be all by himself. I agree with what you just said, but not. A lot of people are saying that he looked like he wasn't out of place at the main event. And I thought maybe it's because it was like his first big match in this experience, but he did look a little different. Not necessarily that he didn't belong, not like one of these things is not like the other, and he did not do a bad job at all. There just isn't a whole lot of build to this stuff anymore, and I have a big thought that I want to get to later about that thought, but since you brought it up now, I did think he was... I think that the crowd was so behind him because he was out of place. Right. Well, and because Enzo and Cass are just
super over.
They're as over as you can get.
Correct.
And I don't think it's going away. I don't think that over is going away. So splitting them up would be a mistake.
The biggest pop of the entire night was when Enzo and Cass came out together. Absolutely.
And Enzo, I thought, did a really great job of selling the importance of Cass's match. Like, he looked fired up for Cass.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought the whole thing was good. What Cass and Enzo will both benefit from is they need a real tag feud that I think that they're in the middle of, or were with Owens and Jericho. Who knows what happens now? Where they need to build depth. They don't have any depth yet to their characters. They need some of that.
You're taking the words out of my mouth, and this is going to be the theme of all of my opinions involving this main event here later, but I'm not saying Cass can't get there. I'm saying let's get him to a main event spot. And this is my thing. It's the hashtag millennial episode. What are you laughing about?
Because you say it every week at least once. You say, "Can we just give it a second? Can we just give them some time?"
Well, like I said, we have already given all of our thoughts about this main event, but I still want to build to it. Let me get a few more notes in the way, and then we'll go full force.
No, but what I'm laughing at is you say this about Finn Balor, you said it about Kevin Owens, and it's just how you feel about these guys and Enzo and Cass. It's just, can we give them a little time? Can we give Cass some time before we get them to the main event?
It's my only thing. When you talk about Balor, even Owens and Cass, it's like, let's just get people there. I'm not saying these people aren't capable of it. They obviously are. These are among my favorite workers in the business right now. But let's just get them there. Hashtag millennial, and just like the same thing, we'll get there in turn. A few things before we get to that, because obviously we're fired up about the main event. My next note had to do with Bayley and the New Day. My God, are they a hand and a glove? Do they not fit together like peanut butter and jelly?
Absolutely perfect. What a match made in heaven.
Yeah. I would not have expected to have thought this, but I kind of think she could be a fourth member of New Day.
Do you think they could pull that off? I'd love it if they could.
Absolutely they could. Right?
If anyone could do it. Could you imagine New Day coming out with those big wavy things? That would be just make it better.
Okay, if you would have told me, Rob, great news, Bayley's being called up to the main roster, but she's going to be a part of New Day. Isn't that great? I would say that sounds like a terrible idea. Let's just let Bayley do her own thing. After seeing them together last night, that's magic waiting to happen.
Let's hope they do it and continue to do it. Like, 'cause she's helping New Day. She's a part of their team, sort of. But for her to come out as a member of New Day would be pretty epic.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it could benefit everybody, really. And it was so natural. That was not forced at all.
Yeah, that would be one of the cooler stables in a long time.
All right, so let's go ahead and get a few things out of the way, too. I do feel maybe it's an OCD thing, but I do like to give a shout-out to all the enhancement talent that makes an appearance on the show. I want to say a big hiya to Hyan.
Oh, yes.
Who, despite having Japanese characters all over her attire, claimed to be from Houston, Texas in her short time on the mic.
That's like when I get called or I call tech support, and there's like this super Indian dude, and he says his name is Ted. like I don't believe you, Ted.
Yeah. So I love that. We could while we said hiya to Hyan, we could have said Baya, because she did not do very well. She didn't last very long. Could have called her Bayan, I suppose.
Gone dead, toast. She was squished. She
was not high-end on winning, I suppose. So there was that. I thought a fine female jobber, maybe the best one so far. Right. Okay, I meant to say this last week, and I got another opportunity to today. I love the club gimmick. I like the doctor stuff. I like the office-like setting. My only problem with this club angle and the doctor stuff is I wish they could make a makeshift doctor's office instead of a green screen.
Oh, like have a set.
Yeah, the green screen comes off really cheap to me. I know they're not trying to be uber serious, but I wish they would have a set as opposed to a green screen.
Right.
Your thoughts about that? Am I making too much of a deal about it?
I mean, it's only good if they put someone through a window, like a barbershop window. I don't mind the green screen because it just adds to the corniness.
Yeah, I kind of wish that it was just not. I get that they're being corny. I know people are going to say you're missing the point here. I kind of know that, but I just wish it's the WWE. They could make a makeshift doctor's office.
Yeah.
Instead of using a stock image and a green screen.
But it looks to me like they're going to go from profession to profession now and not just be doctors.
What gives you that impression? Did I miss something?
Yeah, like they did the real estate thing. They did the realtor thing last night.
I must have totally missed that. Did they get a second promo?
They did a thing. I'd have to go back and look at it again, but I was going quickly. But it wasn't all doctor stuff last night. Okay, all right. Thanks for. Sometimes I was helping Brittany bring in groceries last night, and I could have missed that totally. I guess Who's watching live? Where's Steve when we need him? I'm sure
Steve, I got my phone open. We got 2 viewers going. If anyone knows, let me know, please. I must have missed that. When you make me watch for 3 hours, I am going to miss stuff.
Right. I have a family, WWE. I need fact checkers. I
had help bring in groceries and make sure 2 dogs didn't run out of the house.
Right. It's tough. Exactly.
Jerry's got kids starting school today. Congratulations.
Right. I know. It was big stuff getting on the bus. All
right. So I've got that note. I was surprised. I kind of forgot about Jinder Mahal, even though he was brought back like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I forgot he existed again.
Poor Heath Slater. He was brought back in spite of him, in lieu of Heath Slater. But he benefits because Jinder Mahal is just being jobbed week in and week out.
Steve's the best. Steve already just texted me. They're in the retirement business.
Yes, the retirement business.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, then maybe I did see that. I didn't pick up on what was happening. I was distracted. Thanks, Steve.
They're just changing professions now. So now the green screen will make a little more sense.
You know what? And you're right. Then if they're going to be changing professions, maybe the green screen is the way to go. Maybe you're right about that.
Thank you, Steven.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, bud. What else do I have? The Cesaro and Sheamus match was fantastic. Was great, right?
Yeah, and Sheamus went up 2-0. I feel like at this point, what are they going to do? Are they're going to go? Sheamus is going to have 3-0, and then he's going to get swept. He's not going to sweep Cesaro. I feel like he's going to go up 3-0, and then Cesaro is going to push it to a game 7, and then we'll see what happens.
My thought process was, I think that Sheamus was going to take an early lead. I didn't know if it'd be 3-0 or what, but they would always keep Cesaro in a fighting position, and he'd come back and win. Was always the way I thought they'd write this angle.
Yeah, I feel like they should write it. It should go 2-1, and then 3-1, and then 3-2, and then 3-3, and then now we're cooking with gas.
And I do think Cesaro's going to get the better of this still.
He should. I think it's a mistake if he doesn't.
I don't know if it's real or not, but WWE.com is saying that Cesaro got hurt last night, but it's believed to be a storyline injury.
Okay.
So I don't know for sure, but that's what I read about that. And also that would fit into our thought process as to the way they're booking this. Keep him as the not necessarily the underdog, but fighting out of the corner kind of angle.
Exactly.
All right. So there was that. I also have to shout out the other jobber last night. Do you remember his name?
Americano or something?
Americo. That's just great. That's just great.
Loved Americo and his poor mask.
Hold on. I have pictures of him. It's great because I always send pictures to a friend of mine of the jobbers because we have a fascination with the job guys. So the first picture will be a picture of Americo, and you can see me in there, right, Jer?
Yes.
Okay, so here's Americo.
Okay.
Right? Nothing too surprising there.
Yeah, I see it.
And then I just thought this was kind of funny, but here is a quick summation of the match. Like really, it was just him unmasked. It's just him holding pretty much the head of Americo.
Right. Very Game of Thrones.
They just need to evolve these characters at some point. I enjoy the enhancement talent, don't get me wrong, but they need to. Braun Strowman and Nia Jax need to move on from this soon. Backlash
is the time to do it.
So, yeah, I mean, it's got to happen at some point. The fact that it's the same guys every week and it's at the same time is a bit troublesome. But you know what? I still get fired up every time I see a jobber. So who am I to complain?
Yeah, they're setting something up here. So hopefully they get to a point where they both have real matches.
As they were starting to prep up for the Titus O'Neil Darren Young match, all I could think was, please give Titus a mic. Please, dear God, give Titus a mic.
I missed it again. I poop and fast forward that.
Okay, well then you need to watch one thing because something was so funny this time.
What do you do now?
It wasn't necessarily Titus's fault, and I have a video on my phone in case you can't find it, or if one of our viewers didn't see it. Like I know Mike says it gets cut from YouTube or from Hulu quite a bit, so I've got it if we need it.
What did he do?
I need you to go back and watch. It wasn't necessarily him, but when the match is over, he attacks Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
And the only way I can tell you to look, the only thing I can tell you to look for is just Bob sold it wrong. Like, for example, Titus kicked him in like the gut really strong. And Titus sold it as if it was like he took out his legs. It was so hard to explain. And then Bob sold, like, okay, Titus did a move to Darren and Bob sold it, even though Bob was on the ground. It was so weird. And you have to watch it. Okay. I'm telling you, it's funny. If you deleted it, I'll put it onto the thread, but I'm telling you, this was funny. It was wrong and it was funny.
That would be a great angle though. If all of a sudden Bob Backlund is like this serious empath and every time that Darren Young gets hurt, Bob Backlund feels it outside the ring. And so, like, the whole time the match is going on, Bob Backlund's just out there falling down and selling the shots.
I think
funny.
What he was going for was, okay, when Titus did the move that he sold, he shook the ring so much, and so it was so much force that Bob felt it, even though he was just laying on the ground. It was funny. I'm telling you.
I'll have to see it.
By the way, we're up to a record 3 viewers. Hi, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in live. We appreciate it.
This is big stuff.
Yeah, 3 of us.
Very appreciative. Well, it's because we do it at the same time all the time. So they know now it's what, 10:20 Eastern, 9:20 your time.
Yeah, it's getting consistent. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate it. What else do I have? Okay, then there's the main event, which we've talked about quite a bit. Is there anything you want to talk about before we get to the main event?
No, that's it. I'm ready for the main event. I'm so glad that we were both wrong.
Yeah, me too. I was a bit surprised that neither one of us were right. I did not expect Owens to win the title last night. And obviously I have thoughts about this. I'm going to let you go first.
I was so excited. I was getting really depressed because it just looked like Roman Reigns was going to win. It really did. It felt like he was just unbeatable. They get rid of Cass. And I thought Cass, for his role in the match, he did a great job. He was the perfect big guy. He did a good job. Then they get him out of there, and they still made him look strong. He came out of that looking good. I love Kevin Owens winning. I love that Triple H came out and just basically said, "No, Roman. No, Roman." I remember WrestleMania, and he bang, and you think you think and you kind of know it's the same old Raw. They're going to give it to Rollins again. Here you go. There was a quick moment, and I'm not going to act like I'm great at predicting stuff. There's a moment right before Triple H hit Seth Rollins where I thought, is he going to swerve him? And then bang, and then he hit him. And I was like, yes, here comes Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens didn't know what was happening. I just love the whole thing. And you know I'm a big KO mark, so yeah. I went crazy.
Brittany called it right when Triple H went into the ring, and that's what got in my head there, and she was right. So I was kind of looking for it. One thing, it did seem like Stephanie was legit surprised, and people are talking about that online today, whether she knew or not that Triple H was coming. Not that it really matters, but you could have pulled that finish off without anyone involved knowing. Maybe Roman Reigns, but you could get by with just telling them you don't need to know the finish, which they do sometimes. They'll try to keep people in the dark to keep from the spoilers getting out or whatever. Like,
well, you have to tell Rollins the finish, don't you?
You could just tell him you're not winning,
and he'll know when to not kick out.
Or to be honest, do you even need to tell him, like, or when you've got him in the pedigree, or you can communicate several ways that don't kick out.
But how does he communicate? Like, I guess when he gets on him, he just says stay.
Yeah, or because there was a time where they were communicating in the ring. And as long as you're close in close proximity, or you can even whisper to the ref, there's definitely ways of doing that, without being predetermined or whatever. But I'm not even saying that. And that's not even, we're focusing on the wrong parts of this. Let's talk about Kevin Owens. Definitely a guy who is a capable champion. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this. My problem is the stuff we were talking about earlier. He could be a great champion, and he could be a great choice, but we didn't build him to get there yet.
Yes, we did. We've been building for a year. I disagree with you on this one, because this guy, I feel like you've taken your time with him. You've given him other championships. You've had him in other feuds. He's put other guys over. He's done everything he's supposed to do, and he consistently puts on 4 or 5-star matches on pay-per-views. Like,
okay,
he is one of the best on the mic. He's a champ.
I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. Here's my one thing. People go from the mid card. This is a guy who just last month was in an IC title feud. Your place on the card means nothing anymore, because you can be world champion at any time. And that's kind of my thing, is like, so Kevin Owens was not in the title picture a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I'll say. Just like, and Finn Balor wasn't even on the roster 6 weeks ago. And I'm just kind of like, I kind of miss having a legit build to a champion. I'm not saying these guys aren't champion level workers. I'm saying that they're kind of doing themselves a disservice by not building their stars properly.
Well, it's not like they wanted to do this necessarily. I mean, Finn Balor didn't give them a choice. He got hurt, and so they had to re-script. And
they did with Finn, though. They had the choice with giving Finn the title.
Yeah, I mean, they did that with Finn, but I think KO deserves it. And I think that they see a potential for a really cool storyline. And I think they're trying to make Seth Rollins a crowd favorite, like a face again. I don't know how that will work, but
I don't think that's a good idea. I didn't get that vibe last night, but you could. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't get that vibe.
I mean, it's going to be him versus the Authority or what's left of it. You know, I love the Triple H staring down with Mick Foley. Like, just the whole thing worked for me. The whole thing. And I'm a Kevin Owens guy. So
I am too. I'm a big time Kevin Owens guy.
I think he's going to impress you as champion. I think he is.
Look, okay, let me use this for an example. Like, my favorite wrestler of all time is Bret Hart. I know he's past his prime. Let's just say he was still able to wrestle. If he came back last night and won the world title last night, yes, I would be excited. And I would say, that's awesome this morning. That's what I would be saying. But in the long run, that's not the right thing to do. You need to build people to get to that position.
So who would you have given it to if you were booking the match?
I don't know that they made the wrong choice. I don't know that I would have given it to Finn in the first place.
You think it would always be on Rollins?
No, I would say maybe give it to Rollins and let's build Owens to a feud with him, or give it to Reigns and let's build Owens to be a main event champion, to be the Raw champion. You know, it's just like, my thing is, you can be on the middle of the card for a year and then literally 1 week later be world champion. Or in the case of Finn Balor, you could be an unknown to the main roster and then a month later be the world champion. And that's just that millennial mindset that drives me crazy. I just kind of wish that they would build this a little bit more. I'm not upset this morning. This is what I'm focusing on. In all aspects of my life, I focus on the negative things. I think it's cool that Kevin Owens is champion. I'm supportive of it. He's great. Everything he said about him is totally right. Just in general, a complaint I'm having about wrestling today and about the world today is just that there's no more, people have no time for things like this anymore. It's so immediate gratification, instant gratification. And sometimes you need to put the work in and the time in, and just whether you're talking about kids today, the millennial generation, or the Raw writing staff, or wrestling in general, I kind of missed that time where we would really appreciate a long build. It doesn't happen anymore.
You can't do a long build anymore. If you just break it down by hours, like before, take a look at the distance between pay-per-views before. Even if it was just a month of pay-per-view, you have a month in between, 30 days. But it's not just 30 days. It was 30 days. It was 2 hours of Raw, 2 hours of Raw, 2 hours of Raw, and 2 hours of Raw. So it was really 8 hours of programming that you had to so you needed 2 months.
But
maybe,
you're furthering the problem, though. You're right.
You needed 2 months to get to 16 hours, and it's even better if you can have 24 hours of a build of moving these stories around. So you have 3 months, but now you're getting 24 hours of programming in a month. So they don't. That's
the bigger problem.
That's my problem with it. And the only true complaint I have about Kevin Owens winning the belt is that I don't know if this bodes well for Jarrett KO. And that makes me sad.
That's true. You're absolutely right about that. In fact, I didn't even think about that. I was talking with Steve earlier today. Steve was upset that Triple H kind of crapped all over the main event. It's in my opinion that it actually kind of gave it some direction. So like now I don't know what to expect on Monday now because of the Triple H thing. I was actually kind of happy to see him. What did you take from that?
I love it. I absolutely love that he's back involved, and you've got the best stories have the best antagonists. And so it doesn't always have to be Authority versus everybody else, but it looked to me almost like Triple H just said, I want you're gonna help me. And then he looked at Mick, and he looked even at Stephanie, and was like, "Yep, I'm doing my own thing."
Yeah.
And Triple H going rogue is awesome. I'm in.
When you talk about antagonists, though, I'm gonna have to give Steve a jab here because Steve thinks that Spider-Man has better antagonists than Batman does.
Well, he's wrong. And unfortunately, Steve, as much as I love you, you're stupid for being wrong.
I have to say I'm Team Batman on this one, but Steve, thank you for the help, and we always appreciate your opinions. 4 viewers as we wrap this up, Jerry. 4 of them, the 4 horsemen, unless Steve just left.
Well, sorry, Steve, but the Joker's the best villain. And then quickly, rest in peace, Mr. Fuji.
What a great heel, a great manager who unfortunately had no choice but to be a heel because he grew up. He was wrestling in a time when, because you were from Japan, you were a bad guy.
You had to be a bad guy. There was no choice for you. He was really. I love the old school managers.
Yeah,
like I just absolutely love it. And Paul Heyman, I think, is as close as you get to that anymore.
Steve says he's still in the room.
We still love you, Steve.
Yeah.
But really, who's Batman? Who did Batman fight? Sandman, Dr. Octopus?
You're talking about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, yeah, whatever.
We'll give Steve a chance to respond next week because we definitely have to wrap this up. I have to get out of the studio. So thank you.
I don't want him to defend himself.
Okay, sounds good to me. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For the 4 horsemen of the viewers. We'll post this to our website and Facebook as well. For myself, the Rob, and my tag team partner in crime, Mr. Jerry Valeri, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And we'll be back on Thursday with another episode.
Let Titus O'Neil have more mic time. Ooh, ooh, ooh.